first African-American action heroine. Pam Grier became a symbol for black empowerment, a symbol for women's liberation and the sexual revolution, and she did it by annihilating injustice.
I better warn you, I got a black belt in karate.
And kicking ass.
And I got my black belt in bar stool.
No easy feat for someone who grew up feeling the sting of racial segregation. Pam was an Army brat, family was mixed race, and when they were in Columbus, Ohio, they weren't allowed to live on the Army base because they weren't white. In LA, she was discovered by Roger Corman, who was the king of the B-movies, and Pam became a star. Films like Coffee and Foxy Brown earned her the title of the queen of what were called blaxploitation movies.
It was easy for him because he really didn't believe it was coming. But it ain't gonna be easy for you because you better believe it's coming.
In the 80s, Pam had smaller roles in bigger films, but then she was diagnosed with cancer, stage 5. And she beat it, she says, with the help of Chinese medicine. And then she ran into someone who'd recharge her career, Quentin Tarantino. QT took Pam global with Jackie Brown.
If I have to tell you to shut up one more time, I'm gonna shut you up.
For Pam, Jackie was her sweet comeback moment. And before long, she was breaking ground again on The L Word, a series about openly gay women, something that had barely existed on television before. With a life this full, it's no surprise that she's written a best-selling memoir. It's called Foxy, My Life in 3 Acts. Please welcome Pam Grier.
Namaste.
How are you? This is natural for you.
Yes, it is.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course.
Why aren't you in the States?
Why am I in the States? Because I like this country.
No, I know, but Aaron.
Well, we might be.
Aaron might be.
We might be.
No,
we
no.
might be.
We have BBC. We have other stations. Why don't we have you? You're so wonderful.
Well,
right?
Why doesn't
Right?
Foxy Brown get all crazy and fix that for me?
Come on now. No, we would enjoy you thoroughly.
Well, thank you.
Because we're so close.
We are very close.
Yes.
Absolutely. Black History Month, and you're speaking about it. How has that changed for you over the years, this conversation?
Well, I have 40 years. My career is older than you.
Just by 6 months.
Black history, a lot of the African-American, Afrocentric history wasn't in magazines and books and literature and advertising, so we're catching up now, but we have so many years of great stories to tell. And my grandfather was the first feminist in my family who wanted all the girls to go hunting and fishing and shooting, because he's from Wyoming. So, and they're from the Black West, the Black, they call it the Underground Railroad. Mm-hmm. So I had brought this independence and this courage to urban films. And it shocked everyone. Look at her jumping and shooting, and she doesn't even flinch when she squeezes the trigger, right? So, but that was what I wanted to bring, the balance of showing what rural and urban was about, because everyone thinks I'm from New York, I'm urban, I'm street. I am, I can hang it, you know, I can do it. Whatever, I brought that sensibility, and then I would be able to tell stories of history, because now that I got your attention, I can reveal my lore, my folklore, if you will.
Was that always the plan? The plan was to be able to get those stories and get that message across?
No, I was forced, I was pushed. Well, I was in pre-med, and I was working 3 jobs to put myself through school, and my psychology professor, he said, Pam, what do you really want to do? I mean, you're working so hard. I said, I want to do films. And at that time, there were only 4 film schools in the U.S. Now, it's the 70s, it's early 70s. Black Panther, Patty Hearst, college unrest, riots, anti-Vietnam War. I mean,
we were rising voice of the youth.
And the women's liberation movement. So I drove into town, totally radical, flannel, Timberland boots, $9.95. They're now $400. Yeah. And a radical student. Yeah. I was a borderline Black Panther student. If you feed someone, they can feed themselves for the rest of their lives. No affirmative action, no giving. We can do ourselves, just open up the door. Like James Brown. But he said, open up the door and I'll do it myself, you know. So that was what was happening. And I went to UCLA campus and I was just mesmerized by what was going on. So I joined these guerrilla filmmaking crews. And we'd be in a van eating one donut, 10 people. We jump out, shoot a scene with camera and mic, and then jump back in and take off before the police catch us. And I was hooked. I said, that's what I want to tell stories.
But what you guys were able to do in that era, it's also called the jiggle factor. You were able to wear almost nothing at times.
Well, it's women's movement. We burned our bras.
Right,
it's
fair
all
enough.
Jiggle.
But it would jiggle. But here's the thing. I saw you do that in a movie when I was 15. That just completed my life.
He hasn't been right. He hasn't been right since.
But what I'm saying is that you were able to...
You have nightmares?
No, I wouldn't call them nightmares.
I knew I was going to get it out of him.
But you were able to do that, right, and have all that going on and still be embraced by the feminist movement.
Well, that's what it was. Gloria Steinem said a woman can be pretty and beautiful and sexy for herself, but not to lure a man.
You couldn't do that now, though.
No, they're already doing it. Look at the videos.
Yeah, but they're not embraced by the feminists.
It's not a political agenda, a subtext underneath, because I already gave them that. Go ahead, shake it. Yeah.
Think about where your life is from where your life was. I mean, when you were 6 years old, I mean, you were traumatized, victim of trauma, right?
Yes.
And
yes. I became a revolutionary.
In that moment?
From that moment.
Victim of sexual abuse.
That was the first one. And then I was told to not tell, because it would have made my family implode.
Because it was within the family.
Yes, so it was in the family and neighbor kids. So it was a horrible experience, and they told me not to tell. So I became this silent child, and they thought I was autistic. Tragically, but it worked. I could get over not doing dishes and making my bed and things like that. But then I couldn't reveal to my family, so I lost my family. I was separated from my family, within the family.
You couldn't reveal to them what you were feeling or what happened to you?
What happened, because my grandfather, who taught me how to hunt, shoot, and kill, he would have been very angry and upset, and family members and friends. So you can imagine, and that's what happens. That's why a lot of women and young men don't tell, because they may not be believed, or there's going to be stigmas and repercussion. And the police, everyone's brought in, and so it's chaotic. So I lived with that.
But do you have, you must have developed some profound, reasonable trust issues after that.
Yes, yes. Matter of fact, I want to fingerprint you, call your mama, and everything else.
You know,
so the third time, I started fighting. I said, I'm not going to die. You're not breaking my neck. I'm going to break something else on you, but you're not hurting me. And I started breaking furniture, and I fought, and that's when I became Coffee and Foxy Brown and Sheba Baby. And that's when I started fighting for my life, saying, you're not going to take this from me. I'm just now regaining it back. And I fought, and I left the apartment, this Holloway Boulevard. An actor named Sal Mineo had died in one of the apartments. And so I'm walking down Holloway, back down Sunset, and here's Roger Corman's office. And I'm walking down the street, my clothes are torn and disheveled, I'm talking to myself, and people are like, look at her, she's on job. And I walk back to my job, and all the secretaries know something happened. And they wanted to go seek revenge and go find him. And I said, no, Sun Tzu, the art of war, I'll get him at some time. I will get him later. I promise you. So I was very quiet, very determined, and then I said, I'm going to take that job that Roger Corman has offered me to go to the Philippines and learn filmmaking, kick a little ass, find my womanhood, find me.
Wow.
And that was the journey.
Stick around. We're going to have more of our conversation with Pam right after this.
Oh, that's her. Mrs. Robertson and her daughter, Wendy.
Damn! Nice. Back here with Pam Grier. What a lot of people don't know about you and the Fresh Prince was that was a kind of a comeback moment for you. because you had been battling, you were sick, you had cancer. And...
Right. I was diagnosed with an invasive cancer when I was 39 in 1988, and I was running 7 miles a day, didn't smoke or drink. I do drink my wine now. But at that time, it was this resurgence where not only was I in Fresh Prince, but I was in The Wayans, I was in Sinbad, I was always the older woman with the younger man, Terrence Howard and Sparks. But I didn't know if I was going to return.
What do you think about the way blaxploitation films have been talked about?
Do you know what they really are? Blaxploitation was, now there were quite a few films before me done by males.
Yeah.
Fred Williamson, James Brown, Isaac Hayes, Chuck Turner.
Canada had a great one, Blackula.
Did you do Blackula?
No, I Gordon Pinsent was in it.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Anyway, there were these films that were done by males, but they weren't called blaxploitation. And then when I did it, a woman stepping in a man's shoes, the conservatives went berserk. Why can't you be more feminine, pregnant in the kitchen, barefoot? I said, well, no, this is a women's movement. So we basically, it was about me stepping in men's shoes, and the conservatives didn't like it. And blaxploitation was a term to say it's for black action.
Right.
And since it's a woman and she's showing her bias, exploitating women. No, it wasn't. It was saying, no, the opposite. And it grew from that. And from that, we became very successful because now we were heroes and heroines. And that was a good way to break into the first time to see, as opposed to subservient culture of African Americans in subservient positions. Now we're showing leadership.
The very first Academy Award that went to an African-American woman, Hattie McDaniel, played
And guess where she's from?
Colorado.
Yes, my high school.
She was your high school?
Went to East High School, so did Don Cheadle.
That's all right.
Yes.
Well, Hattie was playing a maid and, you know, got that role. The two African-American...
Did you hear what she said about it? She said, yes, but I played well.
Yes, she sure
I'm
did.
the best maid you've ever seen.
Well, she also was
did
very...
it with dignity.
And she spoke to, and part of the criticism for that role, people were like, well, she shouldn't speak to people the way she did in that film. She wasn't empowered. But it's funny that a couple of years, like now, a couple of ladies nominated for Oscars who are African-American playing maids.
Right.
It's different. It's social commentary. They're examining the history.
Yes.
But has it changed that much, Hollywood?
Oh, well, Hollywood is a business. It makes movies. And if you're lucky enough to tell a story that's of historical nature and entertain and fill up 1,500 theaters, then yes.
So that Hollywood's not racist, it's just about money?
It's about money.
That's it?
It's about money. Because there's so many people behind the camera, directors and the Hudlin brothers, people of color in all aspects. It's just not enough money to make back on an all-black film.
You know, I want to talk about Richard Pryor for a sec. Richard Pryor is a huge influence on so many of us.
Yes.
He was your man.
Yes, he was.
You know,
and a good one, too. But he thought I was lame.
He thought you were lame?
Because I didn't do drugs. And he was trying to go cold turkey, and he thought because of my influence, he would be able to do that successfully.
Right.
I had asthma. I couldn't do weed. I wish I could have. I would be a different person today. I may not be here tonight.
But Richard, as a child, was also a victim of sexual abuse.
Yes.
You know, did you guys find as just, I mean, a way to trust and bond with each other that maybe only the two of you could have understood?
Yes. You do that. You become a confidant. He could trust me, and he trusted me when I walked away from him because he was returning back to drugs and not going to meetings. And I had really didn't want to be a crutch for him. I'm not a good crutch. And he was upset that I left him. I'm Richard Pryor. What you mean leaving me? Well, you are Richard Pryor, and I don't want to change you. You have to want to change yourself, but you can't put my career and all the people I'm putting through college and all the mortgages I'm paying to help lift my family and friends. You can't put that in jeopardy. I love you, and when you love someone, you set them free. That Sting song?
Yeah.
Set them free.
You
So
have to.
I did, but he trusted me. She loved me and walked away because she respected herself more.
You need to come back to this. I just want to keep talking to you. All right, so Pam's in Toronto to celebrate Black History Month, courtesy of filmmaker Clement Virgo at the Canadian Film Centre. So, so follow all the work they do. Pam Grier, everybody. We'll be right back.
As you can probably tell, we have a live studio audience. I'd love it if you would join us. Go to strombo.com/tickets for more.